All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about something that's absolutely central to the Christian faith, but let's be honest, can sometimes feel a little fuzzy. The Holy Spirit. What are we actually talking about here? Is it a ghost? Some kind of cosmic force? Well, stick around, because we're going to clear away the fog and get to the heart of what this all means.
So where do we even start? Well, how about with a line that maybe you've heard or even said 1,000 times? From the Apostles' Creed, I believe in the Holy Spirit. Seems simple, right? But those 6 little words are packed with some incredibly deep meaning, and they're really the key to everything we're going to talk about.
But what are we really saying when we say that? What does it actually mean to believe in the Holy Spirit? Is it just acknowledging some vague spiritual vibe in the universe? Or is it something more? That's the big question we're going to unpack together. And here's our game plan for how we're going to do it. First, we'll look at the phrase, I believe itself. Then we'll get into the identity of the Holy Spirit as God. After that, we'll zoom in on the Spirit's impact on an individual Christian, then pull back to see the Spirit's role in the church, and finally, go wide to see the Spirit's work in the entire world. Okay, first up, let's break down that core confession. What is really packed into that simple phrase, I believe? Well, it turns out, when you say those words, you're actually making 2 huge statements at the exact same time. It's really 2 sides of the same coin. On one hand, when you say you believe in the Holy Spirit, you're saying you believe He exists, that He is a real, divine person, not just a nice idea or a feeling. But on the other hand, you're also saying you believe in His work, that He is actively, powerfully involved in our world. So it's a belief in both who He is and what He does. And that brings us to a massive, non-negotiable point. When we talk about the Holy Spirit, we are talking about God. This isn't some kind of lesser spiritual being or an angel. No, Christian theology is crystal clear that the Spirit is fully 100% God. And this isn't a new idea, not by a long shot. This concept of God's Spirit being present and active with His people, that's a theme that runs through the entire Bible. You can think of it as God's power made tangible, His presence made real, right here with us. And this really just nails it down. The Spirit is a person of the Trinity, co-equal with the Father and the Son. But notice how it immediately ties back to His work. He isn't some distant deity. He's hands-on, actively involved in the creation and, crucially, the renewal of everything. Okay, so if the Spirit is God and He's at work in the world, what does that mean for you and me? That brings us right here, to the Spirit and the individual Christian. We're zooming the camera in from the cosmic and divine to the deeply, deeply personal. So how does this actually play out? Well, the entire process of someone becoming a Christian is seen as the work of the Holy Spirit. That initial stirring in someone's heart that draws them toward God, that's the Spirit. The ability to actually confess faith in Jesus, that's the Spirit too. From the very first nudge to the final commitment, the whole journey is orchestrated by Him. But, and this is so important, it's not a one-and-done deal. That first encounter, that moment of conversion, that's just the starting point. A life of faith is understood as this ongoing journey, a continuous walk where you're being led and guided by the Spirit. And this lifelong journey actually has a theological name, sanctification. You might see it written in other languages, like the Korean Songhwa here, but the concept is totally universal. It's just a way of describing the powerful, dynamic work of the Spirit that guides a believer toward real spiritual growth and maturity over their entire lifetime. Okay, let's pull the camera back out again. The Spirit's work isn't just about a bunch of individuals having separate experiences. No, He creates something collective, and that brings us to the Spirit and the church. Now, this is a really bold and foundational statement. The church is the church of the Holy Spirit. What that means is that the church's very existence, its whole identity, is a direct result of the Spirit's work. If you take the Spirit out of the equation, there is no church. And the classic go-to example of this is the story of Pentecost. This moment is seen as the birthday of the church. And it wasn't launched by a committee or strategic plan. It was born from a powerful, dramatic outpouring of the Holy Spirit that took a diverse group of people and unified them into one body. This just drives the point home. The church doesn't just need the Spirit for its origin story, it depends on the Spirit for its day-to-day, ongoing life, power, and purpose. A church trying to operate without the Spirit, well, it's just another human organization. And that brings us to our final and widest perspective. We've gone from the individual to the community, And now we zoom out to see the Spirit's work across the entire world, all of creation.
A helpful way to look at the world through this lens is to see a kind of cosmic conflict, a great spiritual tug-of-war. On one side, you have the devastation and corruption of sin, which affects everything. But pushing back against all that decay is the constant renewing work of the Holy Spirit, who is on a mission to restore and heal all of creation.
So what's the ultimate goal of all this renewing work? It's summed up in this incredible word, shalom. It's so much more than just peace or the absence of conflict. Shalom is about complete wholeness, deep justice, universal harmony, the flourishing of every single part of creation, all working the way it was originally meant to. It's a beautiful, powerful vision.
And listen, this isn't just some far-off, abstract idea. This cosmic work has real, practical, boots-on-the-ground implications. The Spirit is at work wherever people are fighting for peace, for liberation, for justice. Which means that believing in the Spirit's work also means being called into action, into ministries of love, mercy, and justice, right here, right now.
So we end up right back where we started, but hopefully with a much bigger picture. To believe in the Holy Spirit is to believe that God Himself is actively, personally, at work, in you, in our communities, and in the entire world to make all things new. And that, of course, leaves us with one last, vital question to ask ourselves. How can our lives participate in that incredible, world-renewing work?